First person to speak, and we'll just confirm with the clerk as we're going down, is Barry Dutton.
That's all.
Please come forward. Push the green button, please.
Okay, thanks. Originally I titled my speech, Hockey Night in Oshawa City Council. I really think we need to rethink this whole scenario to close down Harman Park. When we are listening to consultants and not the residents like we heard earlier, that's a problem. 24, 16, 40, 50 penalty minutes. These numbers represent the current stats in goals, assists, and points for a local Oshawa minor and area product named James Neal, who is having an MVP type year for the Pittsburgh Penguins of the NHL, and who is the nephew of our very own councillor, John Neal. If it wasn't for Harman Park and rinks like it all over Canada, we couldn't sit here tonight and say such things. I can confirm that James Neal skated on the ice at Harman Park, and we are faced with stripping the south end of yet another service of one type or another. Schools, banks, and other infrastructure are leaving that end of town, and they're not being replaced. In my opinion, it's becoming an industrial wasteland for our friends, family, and neighbors down there, and it has to stop. I'd be glad to address the south end issues later if you like. I've left most of the numbers tonight to Bob Babbitt and the other users who are excellent at their work, to discuss a few other things on my mind. I was born and raised here, and I care what happens here. That's why I ran for council against many of you in 2010. I'm proud to have come from the Oshawa Minor Hockey Association. Let's talk about the fact that staff and some members of the council want to close a rock-solid rink that's a cornerstone of this community, without telling the public what the possible intended use is for the site. You do not close a 4-acre public facility without some kind of business plan for it, especially with the backlash from us as citizens on this issue. As a member of the public who scored my first goal there as a kid, I want to know what the future intentions are for this site. If you're going to close this great 2-pad facility of ice to my city, I ran against you guys for City Council in 2010 on a platform of accountability and transparency. This does not seem very transparent nor accountable, and I think the citizens deserve to know if you want to close this facility that serves the south end of the city and the kids and families, what you intend to put in its place. City Council should be setting the tone for this whole building and for staff. And I've emailed you all months ago reminding you of this fact. The council is the head and not the tail. You ran on accountability and transparency, all of you. And you should convey that to staff and the trickle-down effect, in my opinion. I can further attest to the fact I looked into this issue even just this week, when I emailed you all, including the city manager Bob Dignan, the head of development services Tom Hodgins, on this very question. I got a couple emails back from councillors that sort of skirted my question, and nothing back from the 2 head staff members on this. Similar treatment was given to me a few weeks ago when I emailed the same people and asked if the rumors about IKEA moving up near the new Costco site were true. I was ignored on that email also. Funny how last year, before I started asking some tough questions, everybody always got back to me. Now many department heads and council rarely bother to respond to me, or other members of the public. It's called public service for a reason. Regarding the planning and zoning aspects of this site, I emailed the head of planning December 6th, and specific members of council I knew had experience either in this matter or in planning, or that I felt might actually respond to me. Quickly, my questions that day were answered in full by City Real Estate Manager Chris Harper. The zoning for this site, which I'm reminding everyone here, also has a community clubhouse on the site for rent. This is zoned OSP, basically open space plan or park type zoning. There's a panic or long-standing rumor that this rink site is going to be used for parking trucks and vehicles, which is not permitted under the current zoning and planning standards. I would like to know from someone tonight if there's any truth to this rumor whatsoever, or if it has been discussed at any level of this City Hall. We have a right to know. I want to thank John Neal for finding out the cost of that consulting report. I was going to ask for a line item report on that. Thank you for handling that. We got a consultant reporting here telling us we have too much ice, and time and again, we're going to experience declines for the next 10 years in the demand for ice. Related and contradictory to this, I'd like to address the recent publication of this city brochure. On the inside cover, our mayor, you, John Henry, state that our city here in Oshawa is the, and I quote, flagship community in one of the fastest growing regions in Canada. I submit to you that if we are currently the largest of the 8 municipalities in all of Durham region, with about 160,000 people, and we're growing rapidly like you say, and you sign your name to this brochure to promote the city, then how are we going to experience a decreased demand for ice time? You cannot have it both ways. Nobody can. You cannot suck and blow at the same time, and you're the leader of the city. Our population is going to grow, and you need more ice time, not less. You heard it countless times tonight. And you're going to come back in the next 10 years looking to raise taxes to build a rink. At that time, there will be outcry, and I will refer everyone to this meeting that is being taped tonight, and it will stay up on my YouTube and Facebook pages forever to remind you. The city also released its latest YouTube video the other day entitled Oshawa, a Sustainable City, and shows your 5 pillars in the community. It shows a video of little kids playing, and then the voiceover says, "We will meet the needs of the present without compromising future generations. I submit to you that if this rink is closed, you will indeed sacrifice future generations. And that would be a travesty, because the vote to save it can be done here tonight, and it should be." Harman Park was not a legacy project when it was built. It was a community essential service, and that has not changed. I'm done most of my delegation, but I would like to say this. Regardless of the vote tonight, John Henry, as the mayor of the city, I got 2 tickets here, and I would like you to be my guest Sunday when the Generals play Barrie. You and me will go and sit there, regardless of the vote tonight, and we'll have a big family meeting, and we'll sit there and eat hot dogs. You can buy me a hot dog. And we'll sit there, and you need to wear a hockey shirt, and the tickets are here. And to be accountable, I'll leave them with you. And I expect you to show up before 6:05. And we do not need 2/3 majority.
Appreciate the offer. I'll check with my wife.
I'm certain.
Members of council, questions to the delegation? Councillor Neal?
Yeah, thanks very much for your delegation. Could you expand a bit on your the South Oshawa location you were talking about? And since I think you're real estate about that.
Thanks for asking. I'd be glad to. As I said earlier, in my opinion, it's becoming an industrial wasteland down there for our friends and neighbors. That has to stop. I've been a realtor here for about 21 years. I was born and raised here. I know what's going on down there. I'm in concern for the residents and stakeholders down there. Perhaps it is tied to that fact that for months we've been fighting the proposed ethanol refinery facing the South Oshawa folk. Right on the lakefront beside the provincially significant wetlands of the Second Marsh, where piles of birds, fish, plants, and other aquatic life will be jeopardized and destroyed. Not to mention the fact that our city's main water intake around the corner there by Bonnie Gray Point. But I digress. I submit to you that as the city leaders pull more and more services out of the south end, turning it into that industrial wasteland, and you focus all the energy and resources favoring the new and expanding North Oshawa, north of Taunton Road, the south end will suffer even more likely along with residential property values. And actually, Amy brought up some great points earlier, so thank you, Amy. You got to consider the socioeconomic fact that will crush the spirits of our friends and neighbors in that end of town who've suffered enough. I live in northwest Oshawa, like John Henry, and I see what is happening, and it's wrong. The kids growing up will subliminally start to look at their surroundings and question their worth, and their leaders, the leaders elected to serve the city will be to blame. South Oshawa is not a second-class part of the city, and that is the message you need to stop sending them. There should be us, not us and them.
Councillor Neal, you still have the floor.
No, I think he answered that, so.
Any other members of council? Seeing none, thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, we need to turn the computer off for just a minute.